for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So it's approximately 6 o'clock on February 18th, 2026. This is the Zoning Board of Adjustment for Madison. Okay, so can we have a motion? I think we need to do anything? No, we just need to move to go into
Yep,
non-public
I make a
session.
motion that we go into a non-public
hold on.
session.
Hold on.
Well, don't you have to face the,
I gotta, okay, hold on.
or are we feeding from a camera?
He's right there.
Can he, I know, but he can't see us.
No, that's what he can see. See the little screen up there? He's
He's looking at the wall.
in Kate's direction.
We're saying you need to
Just
turn the
have to-
computer.
Hold on, I gotta
so-
write down the motion here.
Yeah.
I'm trying, this is
Motion by
the hard
Schilling.
part.
Yeah, motion by Schilling,
Yep.
second by
Doug.
Doug to enter a non-public meeting.
Yeah.
Thank
How's
you.
that? Tim, can you see everybody?
Let me see.
I'm not
Yes.
there yet, but-
Hey,
yeah.
how's everyone doing?
Sorry,
Good.
Tim, I'm trying to do two things, it's hard.
Okay, so,
I hear you.
okay, so we need to vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the public session is closing and we are going into a non-public session at this point, so Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we're on air.
Okay, so we're back on the air here.
Hold on. Gotta give me a
That's,
minute.
that's all right.
All right. Do your thing.
Take your time,
We,
Kate.
yeah, so we're just getting ourselves organized after the non-public session.
Hi there.
Hey, oh, hi,
How are you,
Ted.
Doug?
Good to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Yes, please. Do I have a name?
Yes,
you
it's
do.
Mark.
Your mother gave it to you.
Okay, so, we're back, in public session here. And we have one administrative item to take care of, and then we'll get right to this case. That is, I'd like to entertain a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session.
So moved.
Seconded, hold on.
Okay,
hold on.
all in
Gotta
favor?
get my
Aye.
eye.
Aye. Okay, so those minutes are sealed.
Okay, hang on, let her catch up.
Yes, I'm letting her catch up.
And
Okay.
you have to have a reason why you're sealing them.
Attorney-client.
No,
Attorney.
no, affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the board or render the proposed action ineffective.
was
Say
the-
the second
it
one,
was
it's
the-
not the.
Render the proposed action ineffective.
Yeah,
Yes,
And then we need to do a roll call vote,
it was a roll call vote.
okay?
everybody said aye.
No, no. Oh, yes, the,
Yes, to close them.
To close, yeah,
Seal
seal the
minutes.
minutes.
Seal the minutes.
Yes,
Right,
we did.
everybody's on, okay.
right. Okay. Okay, so as soon as Kate can close up the notes that she has there, then we will open case 2601. And Kate's been working very hard, so she needs just a moment to breathe, to get
I need
her
more than a
stuff out.
moment. I need a lifetime. Sorry.
Okay, so this is case 2601,
First case of this year.
February 18th, 2026. Okay, Kate, you want to read the notices?
Case number 2601, variance request from Mark McConkey and Eric Edwards, agents for John and Marjorie Summers for property located at 107-1 East Shore Drive, tax map 126, lot 5, article 5, section 5.9, A and C of the zoning ordinance to permit the proposed retaining wall and 7 stairs to be less than 75 feet from the mean high water mark of Silver Lake, and 4 of the 7 stairs to be less than 25 feet from the north boundary of the property. All certified mails went out on February 6th. Postings were done on February 6th, and they went in the paper on February 10th. And
Okay.
I got everything back, so.
So, yeah, all the abutters are notified and, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, conflict of interest, yep. Rich?
I do not.
I do not?
No.
No. Let's see, I need to raise Mark to voting status, assuming you have no conflict of interest. Okay, so Mark is a voting member of the board tonight as well, and there's no conflict of interest. Okay, is there a waiver request?
Certified plot plan.
Okay, so you have a plot plan, but it's not done by a certified, is that right?
It's a septic design, correct?
By Mr. Briggs. Town is the owner of the property on one side, they're bounded by the highway. And the abutter, the kind lady, has given us a letter that she has reviewed the plan, is in agreement. There are no variances are being, all the variances are being requested are against the town property, iron pins, lines identified.
Okay, so, does anyone object to granting a formal waiver? I mean, we have measurements here that are done by professionals, but, did you say, was done by Ron Briggs?
The underlying plan was by Ron Briggs. He'd done a septic design there.
Oh,
And I
okay.
found most of the time when surveyors are involved, they're a little more particular than an average septic designer like yourself. And there are property pins on the common property line that the town owns.
Okay. Okay, so let's decide on the waiver request. Questions?
No.
As planning board, I know you always want certified.
And particularly on this one, I mean, cause you have
I mean, you should have elevation contours, and read this plan, I have no idea what's actually going on underground.
I have clarification for you.
Do you wanna listen to his clarification before we decide whether or not we need a certified plot plan, or?
That might be, see, since we have an objection now, let's hear your clarification so we know whether,
Thank you.
yeah. So, hold on a second, before you can give testimony, let me swear you, let's just advance this swearing everybody in. Who wants to speak tonight? If you all want to speak, or think you might want to say something, just stand up now and we'll just swear you all
Easier
in.
just to get sworn.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you give pertaining to this case will be truthful under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. McConkey, go ahead and make your clarification so we can decide on the waiver request.
We have, and I appreciate Mark's comment, we have done several versions of this plan, working with the building and zoning officer, Bob, and he kept asking us to dumb the plans down to make the project clearer to be understood by him so he could move forward. We came through a couple months ago with a full plan with all elevations and so forth shown on page 2, with all the topos and so forth. And it didn't carry over to this plan. We used the same outline, but it is outlined, Mark, if you were to flip to the next page, showing existing conditions. And so it shows elevation, reference line to the water, shows the existing pathways, shows the existing stairs. The next page over shows an outline of where the new structure is intended to be on the plan, because there's so many darn light lines on the plan.
That is, the black lines are where you're, that
Yes.
defines,
That's the porch or the patio and the retaining walls.
so the retaining wall is on the front side of the patio,
Let me show you a simple
on the
sketch.
back side.
Side here, because
Because
this
the
is
patio's down
slope
low.
goes-
Yes.
Okay.
The patio
right.
is at
If you're-
water
the
Patio,
level?
okay, the
Yeah,
patio's down.
Patio's
okay.
patio's at water level, looking out to the lake.
I see, okay.
I have a simplified rendering of that.
Mark, we're gonna have to give you a desk. You need a desk. You need a desk for all this stuff. Use that one if you need to.
Oh, thank you. A simplified overview, and if I could discuss what happened here.
You're not putting in this pool, right?
No.
Pool, what?
Just check.
It's just, we've worked with Mark a lot, and he has all these fantasy ideas about how it's supposed to look at the end, including a pool next to the lake.
I've seen people do it.
Yeah.
If I could just start in, and then if you decide you want to hold back the hearing and continue, then I'm more than willing to listen. New Hampshire Department of Wetlands Bureau issued a dredge and fill permit back in 1978 to construct an in-bank boathouse at this location. The permit allowed for the removal of 25 cubic yards of shoreline to prepare for the boathouse foundation, and a substantial amount of soil was removed upslope at the same time. It's shown on your big plans in a yellow box. The boathouse was never completed. The abandoned excavation left a large hole in the shoreline and over the intervening years, the walls of the excavation eroded material from the hillside into the shoreline below. At the same time, strong winds from the west blew lake water into the hole, which has added to the erosion over the years. The project is intended to restore the hillside and mitigate stormwater runoff. The Summers intend to install a patio and retaining walls to stabilize the hillside and mitigate that stormwater. The old excavation at the water's edge will be filled and leveled with the existing shoreline. They will cover that infill with permeable pavers to provide a sitting area and add retaining walls to hold the back the hillside. Lastly, they plan to construct a series of at-grade steps from the house down to the sitting area. The completed project will provide the owners a level area to view the lake and over the years and the unmitigated stormwater degradation.
Okay, so the question we're trying to answer is, are we satisfied with the information provided in lieu of a fully certified plot plan? Mark, why don't you speak to that, because
I still have, if this is gonna be the document,
Well, that plus this.
well, I don't know what other plans might exist that Bob's working off of. Is this what Bob's working off of now?
Bob was working off that plan that you have in front of you.
The big one?
Yes.
Big one.
But this small one does show contour lines that give you
Correct.
an idea.
That's what we originally had submitted to him for his review, and then he asked us to make it less complicated so that he could see stairs
Could I
and look,
assist?
yes.
He wanted me to get rid of the contours. and
I'm
he
sorry, you are?
Eric Edwards, sorry. I'm gonna be the one doing the project if this does go through. He wanted me to get rid of the contour lines and get it as simple as I could possibly with just the lines of the walls and the patio and the stairs. So that's what we tried to do.
So the fact this is proposed house location is.
Yeah, I'll address that. In our last session with you guys, we talked about knocking down the house.
Right, I remember. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, putting up something slightly larger. We then got the estimate for said knockdown rebuild, and we're reconsidering.
Yes, yes.
So
That's what I figured.
the square foot expansion on the house is gonna be significantly smaller. And we have a floor plan, and we're engaged with our contractor on getting a second run at the estimate, so.
So at this point in time, the proposed house location is irrelevant to us. All we're dealing with
This
stairs.
is the
The
waterfront.
existing house.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's what I figured.
The existing house.
I thought I'd make that clear, yes.
Thank you, Doug.
I was right.
Well, I'm not sure I have any heartache with accepting the existing things for the purpose of granting the variance.
Knowing that the pins are there, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, okay, then let's formalize that. Somebody wanna move to accept the waiver request?
I'll move to accept the waiver request,
Do
yes.
we have a
So
s-
move, seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed.
Yep, opposed, okay. Okay, so we accept the waiver request. Does anyone think there's regional impact?
No.
No.
No. Okay, so, all right, so we'll pick up where you left off. Mark, you've already made a brief explanation of what this is. Do you wanna
Thank you.
add anything to it, or?
The, before we came to you to propose to do this project, we went to DES, had a meeting, preliminary inspection of what we were trying to do, and they looked up the old wetlands permits from '78 and agreed that it was a permitted project. where they normally wouldn't allow you to be right down at the water's edge to work. So with that, we knew we could move forward, and they have their own requirements. But the second enclosure, second page on your thing, shows where the area was dug out, outlined in blue, where they started to do the boathouse. It was going to be an in-bank. And then the green line is how far they started excavating the hillside. For some reason, unbeknownst to the Summers, they stopped their project and never went forward. So what they're proposing to do is on page 3 in a dark black outline, which is at grade patio at the water. Fill in the mound, the area on page 1 that was in blue that was excavated. Fill that material in, level it, put in a patio, permeable paver patio, retaining wall running around the exterior of it. There are a couple sets of stairs that are in disrepair, which would be on the next page. All sorts of erosion. The owners have made attempts to put up barriers to break the flow going down, but it's a mess. So the whole idea is in the pictures, much bigger picture that's shown on the plan, you can see where that excavation is to the right of the right of the dock, and they would like to put that structure in that area. What they're planning on building is concrete segmented block, similar to what I've shown on the next page. I chose pink. I know that's not your choice.
It is not.
It is not.
I appreciate the effort.
Yeah. And the treads, the stair treads are what's in the middle picture there. They'll be set at grade coming down there. I think there's a set of 7 stairs we're putting in. And then the lower is just showing a representation without the pool of the permeable pavers that would be down on that side.
The stair treads, what material are they?
They're also a concrete or, you know, they look like a granite step. Yeah. Like a,
So are the permeable pavers, are they permeable because the entire surface is permeable? Is that gonna be sealed and it's permeable just because there's joints, or how's that?
From the state, I believe they required the permeable pavers, and that way, yes, everything is gonna be permeable to go down.
So they're not to be sealed, is that the idea?
correct.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
There's a grout in between them, set on a bed of stone, set on a bed of sand. So everything comes through, drops through.
Sort of gets filtered
Yes, correct, it will.
through the sand.
Yeah.
Just, a quick, perhaps unrelated question. Back on page 2, the one with the existing conditions.
Yes.
Kind of at the bottom of the diagram, there's 75 feet from the mean high water line, but that, I'm not sure I understand. That seems to be perpendicular to the lake shore.
Yeah, I don't, that's extraneous.
It's irrelevant, okay.
Yeah. I apologize, I saw that, things got printed tonight. There are offsets on your plan, on this plan. There's a 50-foot offset here, 75-foot offset is here, which is your zoning envelope, and that's what you're seeing here is the zoning envelope.
Okay. Oh, yeah, so maybe that what we carried there was actually this line here
Line
that was,
carrying through.
yeah, that, right, okay.
So
Although it does show it here.
Yeah, no, but no, yes, the 75 feet is to here, yeah.
Some towns consider at-grade stairs an offset that has to be contended with zoning. Some towns say only if a structure is X number of inches or feet above. And I don't know, we were clear from the conversation with Bob whether the stairs even required variances or if it was the retaining wall and the patio. So we prepared an application before you with, shown in red on the top left of your plan, for setbacks that can't be met for stairs that are along the property going down. Because the only way to enter into the patio is to walk down the
Down that
front
set of
until you
stairs.
get to the water. When you get, or before you get to the water, the grade, it levels out, and then you walk into the side of the patio.
So those, are those stairs new, refurbished, or existing and light refurbishing, or what?
No, there are a set of concrete block stairs that are shown on page 2.
These, see them here?
Right, yeah. So they'll be
They're-
removed and
Moved and-
replaced.
They'll be removed. There are two sets of stairs on the property right now. One that's towards the middle of the property.
It's, they're over here.
Yeah.
They show on.
Here and this one here.
Yeah, these two, right? That's
Yeah.
right. These
Yeah.
two.
To the right of that tree.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the rest of the way, you're just meandering down the slope here.
Right.
So when this all gets cleaned up and revegetated, by putting in a series of, Eric had come up with putting in a series of these steps at grade slabs, that it would be a much easier progression down to the water, instead of trying to build steps up above grade and so forth. So he's picked spots that naturally would allow that to happen.
Right.
The existing lower stair set, since they're in a position where you're going to just replace those stairs, which set are they? They set 2? Set 1?
Oh, okay.
So 1 and 5 are roughly,
Already there.
are already there, and they're just,
Need
they'll be
refurbishing.
completely.
One is cinder block, the
Yeah.
one, number
Yeah,
one
one
is
is one.
cinder blocks.
Yeah.
And number 5 is Conway granite.
I see, so will that one just be cleaned up then, so to speak, and add
It's a
additional?
mess, the stones are all, like it's gotta
They
be.
were never graded, they were left over from when the, it looks like from when the chimney was created.
Chimneys built out of it.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
I see.
Feels good.
It was left over
I see, just
debris, and they
chunks.
chunked it.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're a hazard.
Not real steps, just, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuck in the ground. Okay, so 1 and 5 exist, you're adding 2, 3, and 4, and 6 and 7, and the patio.
Correct.
So effectively, what you're trying to do here is make the best out of an existing problem.
That has been their want from the beginning.
Yeah. So, since this is right on the shoreline, are the shoreline permits, are they in hand, or, I mean, you've always had some discussions, I mean, we don't have to have them in hand, but I'm just curious what the status of those permits for this kind of construction is.
I thought it was best to advise the Summers to get the process done with the town first. And I've had the preliminary conversations with the state, and we will follow up with all the permits.
Yeah, well, we, like I say, we don't have to have the permits in hand to grant the variance, but I did wanna know what status was there, okay. Mark, you also look at it from the planning board perspective, I don't,
Oh, not much planning board going on here. Conservation
No.
Commission, maybe?
Yeah.
Do you have to apply for a wetlands permit?
Correct, yes.
And the other question I had is, it appears that you pretty much cut all the trees down, and there is also a procedure, a regulation about that that seems to have been ignored.
They can apply for a voluntary dock permit, but I don't think you have at this point in time. for your dock, your
It would
seasonal
be
dock.
more than voluntary, I believe. I'm not,
I believe the process is they're permitted to have a temporary seasonal dock. But if they want to have it actually permitted by the state, and maybe you got something else there different than I'm looking at, then they apply for that dock permit.
well,
But
no,
it's
this would be
voluntary
the
to
state of New
apply.
Hampshire shoreline permit grid and point for
Oh, right, that.
clearing within the 50 feet, which,
We haven't taken down any trees since we
That's
bought the
what
property. We
It's-
did cut back a bunch
It
of
looks that
bushes.
bad from the time they came there.
but if you look at the,
A lot of brush there.
if you look at
There
the,
was a lot of brush,
A lot
right.
of brush,
Yeah.
right.
well, that's part of the vegetation,
We're
Yeah.
willing to comply with
Yeah.
if the,
but if you look at the picture in your tax card, it's quite different than
Well, let
the
me see
picture
that.
today.
thank you, Mike.
Do we know when
When
the
the
picture on the
was
tax
taken,
card was taken?
probably when the house was built.
Right.
Oh, no, no, no.
No,
No?
It's-
Is that from this reevaluate, it's
Oh,
not from
yeah.
this reassessment, because that would have just been 3 months
Thank you,
old.
Mark.
Hmm?
Thank you. Those are off the tax card? The tax document.
I mean,
Tax record.
would that just be an indication?
It looks like to the left side was cut at some point in time. Most of the right looks pretty wide open, the way it's represented in the pictures.
How long have you owned the house?
2 years.
2 years?
We'll have that discussion with Shoreland, we'll have that discussion with the conservation, because if they want it reviewed quicker, it has to go through conservation. And we'll abide by the point grid system that they have, which from the northeast, that would probably be grid one, being 25-foot grids, and it looks like we're gonna have to plant something in the first section.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
did lose a lot of trees when there was that huge storm that came through. We're
Oh,
not,
it's just small stuff.
small stuff. There were, some birch trees that went over.
But
Well,
my
I mean-
understanding of the point system is the trunk diameter has to be like 4 inches or greater.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was nothing.
There was nothing.
Well,
4 inches or greater.
it actually starts at 1 inch, so we can review what's there for pictures on the shoreland application, and I don't believe anyone's gonna make you grid up to the side of that, but it appears from what Mark has at some point in time, there were brush and shrubs to the left side.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's what stabilizes the bank and purifies the water and.
Right. We're happy to put in plantings and work with the landscaper and,
So-
Yeah,
to stabilize that
on the
whole
technical
hillside.
side, we're considering the dimensional
Right,
variance
right, right, right.
request, and,
Right,
we can put conditions on the variance that such things be considered, but, you know, the planting is, I think, beyond our purview.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, our plan does identify where the tree line was when we went out and mapped on, we were standing in the water looking to the left side. So then we'll investigate what's between there and where the stairs are coming down.
On the bigger
And
one. Yeah. Tree line.
Yeah, and there's also wood line there. Okay, so, other questions?
No, I don't have any other
I
questions.
did go out and walk the property, or attempt to walk. It's, obviously it's under 8 inches of snow right now, so,
Is that what those pictures were about?
Yeah,
You're
that's what-
being-
the
You're
pictures
not
that I
visible
sent you.
because you're under the
'cause,
snow?
no, because I was taking the pictures. It's fairly steep to go down that slope. They don't, if there aren't stairs or some way to accommodate their ability to reach the shorefront, there's a danger to anybody
Yeah.
standing up there. And then so I met with Mrs. Summers, she happened to be home at the time, and she explained where the original boathouse was gonna go, and they had a permit to do that. And since that time, because because of different storms, that area is eroding and it's starting to erode further and wider than, so if something isn't done that creates those retaining walls,
It's gonna get worse.
it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And nobody, I don't think anybody wants it to get worse, so. From a solution standpoint, obviously there's a balance between aesthetics and what you want to be able to use the property and then what's right for conservation purposes, environmental purposes. You are directly on the water right there. I mean, you would be a couple feet back because you're gonna be filling in. So the patio would be a couple feet back, but it would still be a permeable surface, so any rainwater or erosion that falls onto it, filter down through that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Currently, without any of those measures, there, you can see, and I can even see even with the snow, you can see the erosion that happens if you look, that happens in this area. It all comes right off of the
Right.
edge of the roof there, hits that ground and comes down the slope of the property and goes right into the lake if something isn't done to either channel it to some other place or keep it from happening to begin with. I don't want to suggest putting gutters on your house because this is New Hampshire and they wouldn't last, but
No. My goal is to slow this down and mitigate it to where when it hits the water, it's not moving. When it gets anywhere near, it's not moving, so it can't create that erosion on the shoreline itself.
So the retaining walls, so is this, it says walls, is there more than one in the back? Is there one in the front at the shoreline?
No, there is not. That will be filled in, and then the patio will start. And then looking at it, you'll have a 3.5 foot wall with a 3 foot tier. With another
and then
3.5 foot wall.
terraced.
Yeah,
Terrace.
tiers.
So
just-
that's what these two lines are in the
Yeah.
back here. Okay.
Correct.
because there is see here, there's an existing walking path
Right.
that leads over to the neighbor's house, and
Right.
so it would take
Right.
advantage of that terracing to maintain that walking path and.
Right, yeah.
And the hope is to have space in between the knee wall, as it were, and the
Right.
larger wall, so that we can put plantings there to soften the view of the,
Right, yeah.
of that wall that's masking.
Mhm.
How much space would that be between the
3 feet, she
front
said?
wall and the back wall? Is that about 3 feet?
Yes.
Okay.
about 3 feet, that's correct.
Okay, other questions, comments?
How far is the patio from the lake?
From the reference line, we are 7 feet. 7.2 feet is our calculation. It's physically within tenths of an inch of the property line, but the reference line is 7.2 feet further out. And that's where we drew our setback for that patio.
And do our regulations consider the patio a structure?
I don't know, that's,
Mm.
I keep hearing different things every time we have a conversation.
I believe not, because every conversation I've had with Bob, whenever I've done a patio job, that's the only thing I don't need to do a permit or do anything for.
Bob's erred a long ways on safety. Bob's erred on safety, letting the board decide. I don't know if safety's the right word, caution is why we're in here for all of that.
Yeah, because if it's not a structure, it doesn't technically need a variance.
Correct.
But Bob does like backup. But,
But will it not require the state's approval because it is so close to the water line?
It needs wetlands permits, needs
Yeah.
shoreline permits, and that's why we went and had the conversations with them. Didn't wanna go down that way, and they said, Mark, it can't start till 20 feet back or anything else, They're in agreement that there's a problem that it'd be nice to resolve.
So, and the same question exists on these outdoor stairs.
Yeah, that's what I got out of the regulation, is that 20 feet number, so,
I'm sorry, what, the 20 feet
from the shoreline.
with respect to what regulation? That
For a
it
structure.
For a structure.
Can't,
But if
can't
it's
be-
not considered a structure, then there is no setback for it.
There's, you have two it's confusing, I'm sorry. There's two sets of regulations. There's your town regulations,
Yeah.
Right.
and then there's the state regulations.
Right.
If there was no structure here, and this boat house had not been started and not been permitted, they would not let the patio come up to this location now. New structures would have to be 20 feet back.
Right.
Right.
Unless, of course, you had a retaining wall in between, but now that's there. So the state is only considering this coming up to this edge because a permit was already granted to be there.
That was like 50 years ago. That was never acted on.
Well,
No, it was excavated.
Well, they started
They
excavating.
excavated.
But they don't have, they have the application sitting in Concord.
Yep.
But they don't have the follow-up information. They came out, inspected, saw anything. So to them, they do have record that a permit was pulled. They have they have the permit itself, but that's it.
But they
And-
don't have a statute of limitations, so to speak, on
That's what I'm
permits. I
saying.
mean,
That's-
here, if you pull a driveway permit, you have two years to construct it.
They do now, 5 years.
They do now.
But they did not, they did
So this
not
would
then.
be a non-conforming
Grandfather.
type of grandfather
Right.
situation.
And that's why I started there, because if they weren't going to agree to it, Darlene Force, who's in charge of wetlands and shoreland, she's the lady that I've been dealing with on this.
well, apart from those technicalities, there's a hole in the side of the lake that needs to be filled.
It's a hole in the
Yeah.
side of the lake.
Yeah, but is this a permissible remediation?
Well, actually, we're not being asked that question. We're being asked the question whether we'll grant a variance for it to be done. And we would make the condition that, wetland permits, et cetera, are all
Yeah.
required.
All in place.
Yeah, so we're just answering the question, is the dimension, can the town live with the dimensional variance?
But if I got a building permit and dug a hole,
Well,
and
the building permit can't be issued until the Wetland Conservation Commission, all those
Our
permits
building.
are
yes, yeah,
in-
right.
are in place. I mean, all Bob is asking us is it okay to build it 7 feet from the edge of the water, from the town's perspective, since, what's our regulation from the edge of the water, 50 feet? I can't remember.
Well, it's not going 7 feet from the water, it's going right up to.
75, yeah.
75, yeah.
75.
Mean high water mark.
Right,
But that's for a structure.
correct.
This is not a structure. And this is going right up to the water edge,
Well, okay,
not 7 feet, right up to the
So-
water edge.
well, okay, so the reference line is technically out in the lake, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think if you were building a house and you dug a cellar hole in 78,
yeah,
and we got zoning in 87 that says you can't build your house there, and you say, well, I got a cellar hole, had a permit back then.
Well, that's this, to a certain extent, that's the state's issue. If the state has said that the permit for what they wanted to do is still basically legitimate, and they still have the ability to.
Well, it isn't, because they wouldn't let them build a boathouse today.
They actually reversed themselves a little, but.
Huh?
They've reversed themselves again on boathouses.
They wouldn't let you build a boathouse.
Yeah, there was a great period of time that they wouldn't, but now they're back to permitting you to do a boathouse. This thing goes back and forth.
So,
Yeah.
but you couldn't build a boathouse without permit.
Without a permit, no, and even back in 1978, when this started, you had to have a permit, and they pulled the permit to do that. And they don't have any record that they rescinded the approval to do that. They're agreeable that it was there. question whether, you know, you wanted to build that again. They think this is a better option than having them do an in-bank boathouse.
Well, and the gorilla in the room is that there's erosion there because
Oh, there is.
the boathouse was started but not properly finished, and therefore, you know, the bank is collapsing slowly. So something needs to be done. So let's review this from the perspective of the 5 conditions for variance. We need to establish the findings of fact first. We're not gonna close the public hearing for the moment, so we can establish findings of fact in the event that we disagree with them or we need to add something. First one is that a permit existed in 1978.
For a boathouse.
Existed for a boathouse, for an in-bank boathouse in 1978, which was not completed, but the bank was excavated, resulting in erosion at the site of excavation. Okay, so second point is wetland and state permits are in process but not in hand. Third point, the proposed patio will be permeable and what's the best way to say it? Supported, not supported, is that the word I want to, and surrounded by a 2-tier retaining wall with granite stairs to mitigate.
No, they're
Cast
concrete, they're
concrete.
cast
Oh,
concrete.
Okay, with concrete stairs to mitigate stormwater erosion. We want to say the patio's technically and stairs are technically not a structure, or?
I don't know that we can say that. That's the grounds for Bob's denial of the permit.
Well, let's take a look and see what we do. Look at the definition of a structure at the very end.
Definitions.
Maybe it's a gray area, but
Well,
We've
done
let's
this.
read the wording and then
Yeah.
see if. I mean, I don't want to not grant a variance because if somebody.
your nose is.
Mark.
Mark.
Trying to look up the definition.
I realize this is boring.
I was looking up the zoning ordinance, sorry.
Right.
The definition of a structure.
Do I look red? I feel red.
That which is erected or assembled using a combination of materials or for occupancy or use, whether portable or affixed to the ground. This includes structures of permanent or temporary construction, plastic, fabric, and or canvas-covered frame structures, structures for agricultural uses, blocks or permanent foundations, and all sheds and storage facilities. Septic systems, driveway pavement, fences, or stone walls, flagpoles, and well pump houses are not considered structures for the purpose of this ordinance. So,
Stone walls. Of course,
this talks about blocks or permanent foundations.
Yeah, so unfortunately, they overlooked retaining walls somewhere between the foundation and
The stone wall.
the.
And blocks.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
That which is erected or assembled using a combination of materials for occupancy or
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 use.
use. So to me, the patio fits.
Is
that.
assembled
okay, so let's,
using a
shall we
combination of
say
materials
for our findings of fact
for
that
use.
for the purposes of zoning ordinance, the patio and retaining walls are,
And steps.
and steps are a structure meeting the definition of a structure in the zoning ordinance. Okay, the patio, retaining walls and steps are a structure meeting definition. So a dimensional variance is appropriate, required, I'll say. All right. Other findings of fact?
Would we consider this a water-dependent structure?
A water-dependent structure.
As defined as a dock, pier, boathouse, or similar structure. It's right there at the water, it's similar to a pier, it's just, thought I'd
Where
raise the
is that
question.
What is-
definition?
okay, what is
That's
that?
not in our
Well,
ordinance.
the boathouse or the dock
This
is providing a means to access the water, right?
This is in the New Hampshire RSA's.
Okay, and what does that mean?
Well, I went to look up what the New Hampshire RSA definition of a structure is.
Right.
And according to this, the definition is, let me find it here. I had it here for a second. It's defined as, International Building Code, that's what a structure is defined as in the state. But also, there's an environmental issue under RSA 483B4, a water-dependent structure is defined as a dock, pier, boathouse, or a similar structure. My question is this a similar structure, such as at the water line and the dock is attached to it?
Well, the dock's not technically attached to it, but let's just
It
say for the
is.
moment that it is. Is the dock attached to it?
No, there's no
No.
dock at the moment, cause it's out of the water. It's put in and taken out of the
Look at the
water.
plan.
It shows existing dock, that's where it goes when it goes in the water, but
Mhm.
if you look at the pictures, you can even see portions of it laying on the, right
Well,
here.
that doesn't mean it's not gonna be there, it's
Well,
gonna be there.
okay, what's the
But it's
implication
not
of being a
attached.
water dependent?
No, it won't be attached
It's
to
not
the
attached.
patio.
No, no, but it's,
Well, what's the point of what you're saying? If it is a water dependent structure, does that change? What does that change, or how does that
then
inform?
it did,
And so you could build a boathouse.
well, all I'm getting at is, do we need to worry about the 75-foot setback because it is a structure or not?
Well, I think according to our zoning ordinance definition, we would deem it a structure. It's erected or assembled using a combination of materials for use,
But
whether
whose,
portable or affixed to the ground.
but whose definitions overturn the other? Is it ours more than the state's, or the state's more than ours?
No, it's ours more than the state.
Yes.
We're more,
Okay.
We're more restrictive.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the point is because this is basically right on the water. I mean, it's a technicality that it's 7 feet from the reference line, but like you say, effectively, many
It's
times
not
of the year, the water's gonna be right at the edge of the patios, right?
Yeah,
Basically.
exactly.
Where it is raised to, I have not seen it there in a very long time. the
That-
medium level.
I have.
Okay, there won't be water on the patio, but
there might.
how much, will there be bank in front of it?
Yes, there's gonna be bank and it's gonna be, yes, I have to get the patio back, that way it doesn't heave instantly on the first snow that we get next year.
Right, yeah, so just, but it's not, there's not 7 feet of bank, because the reference line is not, is,
There's several feet, but not
Here's the-
7 feet.
Yes,
There's
I
the
can
patio.
build,
right,
And here's the dock attached to it with the water right there.
There's no.
well, that's just a pencil drawing of,
But
The dock is not gonna be attached to the patio, is that correct? There's
No.
bank and
There'll be
dirt and
bank and
land
it'll
in
be
between.
The
Sitting
dock has
on
its
that.
own legs, I understand
Yes,
how the dock
yes,
is.
yes.
I understand how the dock's.
But it's
attached.
not gonna even sit right against the patio. There's 2-3 feet of
Not two
a
or
foot,
three feet.
how much land?
2-3 feet back.
2-3 feet
Yeah.
It
between
says
the edge of the
rocks and-
patio
yeah,
and.
there's rocks and brush
Yeah.
before you get to the dock.
yes,
Well,
correct.
excuse me, is the dock part of our,
No,
No,
okay. If the dock's not part of our discussion, and it's not connected to the patio, do we need to discuss the dock?
no, I just wanted clarity for what we were looking at.
Okay,
That there is a 2
Right.
plus
Is-
foot section of land between the water and the patio.
something like
Correct.
that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, okay. Okay, so let's just make that a finding of fact that, there will be I'll just put undetermined
Stretch of land,
Uh, section of, shall we call it beach, or
Earth Works?
between the patio and the lake, which will not likely reach to the reference line. To the surveyor's reference line. Okay, so, I think is it a safe assumption that an existing dock like this is a temporary dock, so does that require a dock permit? That's not part of our, we're not concerned about
it's not our concern.
And I don't believe it requires it.
And I don't think it matters for our consideration. Okay, so what other findings of fact do we have that are relevant? Mr. McConkey, is there anything you think we ought to add as a finding of fact that we haven't
Make
addressed?
sure we capture in the record.
I believe you captured what we said.
You wanna add in the fact that 2 of these stairs are existing and to be remediated, replaced?
Okay,
2 of
we
the
can-
7 are existing and are being, yeah.
Okay,
Remediated, I like that.
2 of the 7 sets of stairs
Will be replaced.
exist, but will be remediated.
You can just say replaced.
Okay. Alrighty. Unless there's anything else that we need to address, well, actually, let's see. We said 1970 complete with these results shoreline. Well, I wanted to capture the fact that there's excavated results, erosion, serious erosion. Okay.
Do you want to capture that the property is bordered on one side by town property and on the other side, there is an abutter who has no objection
Okay,
to
the property on the, which side is that?
North side is town property.
North side is town
North side's
property.
town, south is.
Property is bounded on the north by town property. And that's where the,
It's the Hurricane Point Conservation.
Yeah, okay. Hurricane Point Conservation,
Where E. Cummings wrote the enormous room.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
Cool.
street meter.
Is
Town
a cellar hole
property.
up there?
I'll bring my copy,
Property.
if you can stay awake.
Joe, where are you? Cause I was following along with you.
Okay, I'm 7, but I'll send you a copy of my notes too anyway, so.
I kept up with everything else.
Okay, the property is bounded on the north by town property, Hurricane Point Conservation Land,
In
and,
parentheses.
yeah, in parentheses. And this is the property line where the variances are rested. And 8, the, abutter.
South side,
What?
on the south side.
Yeah, the abutter on the south side.
Has given their approval.
Last name is
Close.
A-R-M.
K-L-O-M-P.
And Armenia.
I would just say has
Klump and
submitted a
Armenia.
letter
Yeah.
Yeah,
in favor.
the south side has submitted a letter supporting.
the granting of the variance.
And where are the Briggs and Edwards? They across the street? Well, it's Briggs Land Surveying and Eric Edwards.
Yeah, you have another town property across the street, and then
Briggs is the sewer
Septic system design.
designer, and Eric Edwards is.
Right here.
So you're in a butter.
No,
no.
he's.
No, no, no.
I'm looking at the list of,
Oh, no, that's butters, but that's because they're interested parties, it's not
Okay.
just property of butters.
Alright.
Yes,
Alright.
abutters and
okay,
interested
then
parties.
Edwards is across the street?
No.
he's
You are,
he's-
so
He's the
then
guy
who-
that's gonna
then
do
who
it.
is-
Yeah.
You're Briggs and Edwards?
No.
All right, so who is Briggs Land
So-
Survey?
Ron Briggs is the septic system designer.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, right, so he got notification, so he's, yeah, right. Okay, so we have 8 findings of fact there. Is there anything else that anybody wants to add to that?
I don't think so.
Okay, in that case, shall we close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Sharon moved, Doug second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so, for those who don't know our procedures, this is now a public meeting. You're allowed to hear, but we'll take no more comments from the public. We'll make our deliberations and make a decision, on the case in the outside lunatic fringe. We might not decide tonight, but that's only formal possibility. Okay, so, variance will not be contrary to the public interest, and the spirit of the ordinance will be observed. So, for the variance to be contrary to the public interest and for it to violate the spirit of the ordinance, it must unduly and to a marked degree violate the basic objectives of the zoning ordinance. Of course, being right on the water is a significant incursion on the setback requirement of 75 feet. However, to mitigate that is the pre-existence of a partially completed boathouse, which has resulted in erosion. So,
To be clear,
yes,
there is no, look, what you see is what you get here. There is no actual structure that was erected. The pins and all those things are there, and it was excavated in order to pull out the earth that they needed to put the boathouse there. So what I don't wanna say is that there's a partially erected boathouse,
oh,
'cause
no,
that's not
no,
true.
no, no, no,
Right.
no. I didn't mean to say that. What I meant to say was that we have erosion, which is a justification for us granting a variance in
to-
spite of the egregious imposition on the 75-foot.
I mean, there's been 48 years worth of growth there too, and so the bank is stabilized.
No, it's not. I was there. That's not a stable looking bank to me at all. Even under the snow, it does not look stable.
Growth.
It looks like that, and maybe it has sat there for 48 years and we haven't had some of the nature of the storms that took out part of Colby Hill and that kind of stuff the last couple of years. But from what I saw, there is significant erosion happening, and it is backed up right onto the path where they walk and get to the other property. And I think one more, personal opinion, one more really good storm and they're gonna lose that 5, 7, 8 feet of section of property.
It's essentially
It's gonna
sand,
fall in.
even though there's stuff
Yeah.
growing there, it's not firm at all.
Right, so the questions that affect us here on this particular thing are public health and safety, and does it affect the essential character of the neighborhood?
No.
And so, does not affect essential character of the neighborhood. One could argue that stabilizing the bank,
Preserves part of the neighborhood.
yes, preserves the shoreline better.
Yeah.
And there's no threat to public health and safety here. Although stabilizing the bank would, like you say, potentially provide safety on that path.
Yeah.
Stabilizing.
You're gonna send that to me.
Yes.
She's like,
You're losing me, I'm
I
sorry.
know, that's all right. You're at the end of several very long days.
Very long, yeah.
Okay.
And more to come.
Okay, stabilizing the bank will enhance the safety of guests and owners walking above the bank. Okay, substantial justice is done because any loss to the individual which is not outweighed by gain to the public is an injustice. So is there any gain to the public in not providing for this,
is there any gain to the public by not providing this?
by not allowing this patio to be built?
Patio and stairs and retaining walls.
Yeah.
I don't remember, how big is this patio?
Patio, okay, that doesn't show it, just a second.
Then that has no dimensions on
Yeah, one of these days I'll figure out how to be. Piece of paper.
The setbacks are not, but the actual dimensions
The
are.
actual dimensions of the patio aren't there.
So hang on a second.
This is why someone would request a certified plot plan. Just,
Move
I'm
on,
saying it
Mark.
now because I can't afterwards, okay?
Move on,
When
Mark.
it's too late.
It's on the plan.
Oh, it's up the top.
Up the top. Okay, so it's 14 by
Oh, there you
28. Is that it?
Yep.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's 40 by 20.
I don't.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right, okay, so,
Oh, that's the
we're
second
asking, we're
one.
trying to answer the question as to whether,
This is the upper
why
wall.
substantial
This is the
justice is
lower
done,
wall.
because no loss, okay, so the loss to the individual. So if one were to argue for the benefit to the public, which would be the enforcement of our setback requirements, one might argue that one wouldn't have a structure next to the lake. On the other hand, one is dealing with existing erosion due to mistakes in the past. So one would argue that actually there's gain to the public in stabilizing this bank. I mean, and the owner gets additional gain because he gets a patio to sit on. how do we word this? Any suggestions?
But if remediation of whatever environmental damage can be done easily without a patio. So you can't argue that,
A patio is necessary.
right.
No, okay.
And the patio, if it's 28 feet by
14.
14.
by 14, but if you apply that 28 feet to the existing condition map, 20 feet is an inch, and so 28 feet is much wider than that hole is, than the excavation is.
I don't know what particular
Well,
area.
If you
Well, but the
Go to
length, the
existing
length of the
condition.
patio is dealing with the closed back bank. The length of the retaining wall on the back side of the patio is also designed to stabilize the bank. It's not just filling the hole in the front.
the slab says it's 14 by 28.
Yes, no, that's true, but my point is that the retaining wall's almost 28 feet on the back side of the patio. One goes back 3 feet, and then, what's the length of it? It's 20 feet. So the dimension of the patio, you're right, it wouldn't, it's not required to fill the hole.
It's
But
bigger
it
than
is,
the hole.
but it's related
It has
to the length of the bank that needs to be stabilized in the back. In other words, it's not just a fantasy patio that's put there 100 feet wide when they only needed a 10 feet retention wall.
But if you try to apply that 14 by 28 to this drawing, where the contours are,
It's in the next drawing.
yes, but where the contours are,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bigger than the hole.
yeah,
But
I'm
it's-
saying that
But
it's,
it's not necessarily bigger than the green contour line. Do you see that green contour line?
Yeah,
That's where, what you're seeing, what the blue line is the bottom of the hole. What the green line is
Yes, I
is the
underst-
piece that goes up through the contour and the back end of the top of that excavation.
I understand
It's not a
that.
straight excavation.
But you're gonna make the bottom of the hole, the blue line, 28 feet wide.
No,
Then how are you gonna put a patio there?
because they're building it up.
Again, it's not shown on a plan, but how much above, mean water, water?
How high?
Yeah,
It's not dimensioned, but it's in this section.
so it's saying,
If I had to guess, I'd say it looks like a couple of feet.
what, put it,
Vertically a foot. Oh, it says scale 1 foot per oh, that's for the stairs.
Probably because it was done on
So-
graph paper that didn't show up in the document.
Exactly right.
so
but
yeah,
we're
this
at water level for 28 feet. We're water
last-
level
You're about a
plus
foot above it. You're
Foot
probably about a
above
foot
water
above.
level for 28 feet.
Right.
Which is not what this hole is.
no, that's true.
So it's much, much bigger than this hole.
No, well, I don't know.
It's bigger than the hole.
It's bigger than the
We're
hole.
not contesting that, but
Yeah.
if you
No.
look at the back,
So we're making a bigger hole to solve the little hole.
if you look at it from the perspective of the bank that needs to be stabilized behind it, then you're probably extending a little bit further than
And
that.
next to it.
But if you look where the path goes on the thing here, is the retaining wall is set here in order to stabilize this bank here, and so this length does not. The point is the length of the retaining wall is there for the purpose of stabilizing the bank. So, I mean, if you're arguing is the patio bigger than would absolutely minimally be necessary in order to stabilize the bank?
I mean, it's
That's-
it's twice as big as the hole.
Okay, well, I'm not trying to solve the problem of the hole, I'm also trying to solve the problem of stabilizing the bank. And the hole is much smaller than the bank.
We're gonna have to make the hole bigger to put the,
Well, the hole goes below the water line. And so no, we're not making the hole bigger. We're probably leveling the beach some right there, but we're retaining.
it would be nice to have a plot plan that shows the size of it,
You're good.
you know? It's
Well,
just-
if-
Well,
I mean,
regardless,
Mark,
I mean-
DES is
so
gonna
if-
be the
if
one
you're
that
asking- if you're
decides and says,
asking-
no, you can't go that far. They're gonna, if there's any restrictions on the size of that patio and the excavation that has to be done to build the retaining walls, I presume that DES is going to do that. They're not gonna get their wetland permits until they satisfy those requirements. And so, to try and make that judgment sitting here without actually knowing.
without having a certified plot plan.
No,
that would show you.
without knowing what the DES is gonna require them to do in order to stabilize that bank.
Yeah, but we're saying what we think is okay with us.
We're
or not
saying
okay.
that, we're not judging the size of the patio, we're judging whether or not they can build it as close to the water as they can. So the 28 feet length of the patio and the 14 feet depth is irrelevant, other than the fact that it's as close to the water as it is. Right? That's what the variance is for, is how close to the water are we going to allow them to put this? And are we gonna, first of all, they can't abide by a 75-foot setback. The house isn't even 75 feet from the water line, from the water. It's only 50-something feet. So there's no way for them to abide by that 75-foot setback. What they can abide by is probably the 7 feet from the mean high water mark, or whatever that is, 7 feet from that center line that they created, and it's gonna have 2 to hopefully maybe, closer to 3 feet, 2 feet, definitely 2 feet worth of space, if you will, between the edge of the patio and dipping your toes in the water. And it's gonna be about a foot above that water line. Do I think aesthetically and, I don't even know what the other word is, do I think that this fits within the purview and the aesthetics, and are we doing any additional damage to Silver Lake and the shore by allowing them to build that close to it? Or do I think that this more than helps to compensate in the other direction by stabilizing that bank, not allowing it to further erode, making the house closer to the edge of the lake than the 50 feet, because now bank is eroding and, like in California, eventually off the cliff, right? But seriously.
That's seriously.
It is serious. People built their houses 50 feet back from the edge of California's cliffs, and
Yeah,
now they're
but
in the water.
You're not gonna fall into Silver Lake.
Well,
No, that's true. But
Probably
if-
not,
if- some of what we're arguing here is whether or not, if the purpose was simply to mediate a problem with a hole in the bank, then could they have just not filled it with gravel?
and/or put the retaining walls up.
Put sand in and put a retaining wall on approximately, well, I'm just calling that for the sake of argument, something like 18 feet where the edge of the thing is. As it is, what they decided to do is take this green thing here, cut this back a little bit, put the retaining wall here in 2 tiers, and then because the path is here, they extend this out like this. Now, if you follow the 478 line, the other one is 476. So they're digging into this 2-foot thing here a little bit in order to extend this retention wall here out to stabilize the bank along the edge of the path. So, one, I mean, are they getting extra value out of this in terms of getting a patio? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's what they're asking us, is do we object to them doing that? And especially if in light of the, now, we don't know whether they'll get a wetland permit for it or not, but we can make this conditional on the existence, you know, that they acquire all the required wetlands and conservation permits and all that sort of stuff. We're just answering the question as
They
Sharon
may
said.
fall back on what was the originally proposed boathouse.
Well, or they may say, well, 28 feet's too long.
Right, maybe the boathouse was permitted at 16 feet, just making it up.
The
That-
state-
Well, but my
that's the-
point is that
Yeah.
what
But that's
Sharon
up to the
said is,
state, exactly.
but Sharon's point is, our decision is, are we gonna let them build it that close to the lake,
Yeah.
right?
I would venture to guess that had that excavation not occurred, they wouldn't be building this close to the lake.
Yeah.
There would be no need to do that. They could have a patio, a larger patio up by the house and enjoy the lake view just as much. But because that's there and something has to be done with it in order to keep it from expanding and expanding and expanding both sideways and backwards or,
Right.
landside,
And-
the most palatable, beautiful solution, if you will, the most aesthetic, is to put those retaining walls in, put the stairs in, and put a patio there. So that the retaining walls have something to sort of sit on and, work off of, that there's not just a retaining wall trying to go down into the lake.
Well, the rest of the bank doesn't have a retaining wall.
No, but the rest of the lake doesn't have that cutout in it that's being eroded. I'm sure pieces along the side, along the actual very edge of the lake, when you're looking down, see those rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of that over the years has eroded as well. But it's just not as significant, nor as visible and unstable as that hole is.
That hole doesn't look that unstable to me.
Did you go walk it?
I took this picture from out in the pond,
I stood on the bank.
so.
I went there, I
So-
stood on the bank. and
So
I will
I
tell
walked
you,
down through there and walked out, and, yeah, I walked all over the place.
so,
Well, at the end of the day, it's not our responsibility to redesign the project. We're being asked, can it be built that close to the lake? So whether it's 28 feet long, or whether it's 26 or 20 feet, is actually not a question that, we're specifically addressing. You, of course, are thinking also in terms of planning board. I mean, you look at all those things all the time. But on the ZBA, the question is, can they build it that close to the lake? And we're considering the project as it's proposed. And we can say no.
and we can, or we can say, yes, but
Yes,
you
but.
have to satisfy these conditions. And so I think one of the conditions is obviously state approval for the wetland kind of thing, whatever the technical or appropriate term is, the wetland, is it a wetland permit? Is it
Well, it's
Yeah.
Shoreline.
shoreline
Shoreline.
stuff, yeah, I
Yeah.
can't remember exactly. how-
See? So I would absolutely make that part of the approval conditions.
Mhm. Well, okay, so we're answering the question, is substantial justice done? So, to try to put the question in a little bit different framework, to try to capture Mark's question is, are they taking advantage of the situation in order to gain, a patio where one would normally not get it? Or are they stabilizing a bank and doing it and taking, collateral advantage of the situation that needs to be addressed? There's obviously mixed things here, no matter how you slice it. So depends how you look at it. If, think it's taking undue advantage of the situation, which is the shading that Mark's questions lead in, that's one thing. If you think that, no, that has to be something done here anyway, and stabilizing the bank provides an opportunity to put that structure down there. Is that an egregious violation of our zoning ordinance?
If there were no erosion or mitigation issues that needed to be done, and all they were looking for was to put in a patio at water level, I would say no. But because all of this other stuff has to be done, because of the erosion, because of the situation, because of the slope of the property with the stairs and all of that, the slope of the property right there from the existing path down to the waterway, there has to be those retaining walls, there has to be those stairs in order to make the property stable and accessible. They have a right to access the lake, they have a right to be accessible.
Totally agree with you.
Yes.
But there's more ways to remediate that.
But we're not here to tell them how to remediate.
Well,
We're
we
here
can
to just decide whether or
We
not.
can tell them they can't do it that way.
We can tell them,
Well, yes, we can say no.
we can disapprove the variance. We can't
Right.
tell them, we're not telling them no, we can just disapprove the variance. They could still do it, but they would have to cut into the entire bank and cut it back 50 feet in order to meet the 75-foot setback, so,
Well, that's an absurdity.
Yeah, that is, but that's right.
Were you pointing at her or the idea?
Well, it was her idea. Okay, so, the fundamental issue here in substantial justice is a remedial action needs to be taken. Right? There's no question about that. So, do these activities provide, that remedial action, and the benefit is collateral, or is it simply taking advantage of the ordinance to accomplish something that could be handled entirely differently? That's effectively the question, right? You haven't said much
I
about
would
it.
agree that is the question.
No, and don't forget the standard here is any loss to the individual which is not outweighed by a gain to the public is an injustice. Right. So the individual here obviously is getting a benefit from this remedial action.
Yeah.
The question is it costing the public anything? If it's not costing the public anything, then we should say this is substantial justice is being done.
I think the whole idea of shoreline protection and these setbacks and, the 25, 50, 75 is to take away the property rights of anybody who has abutting land on a river or on a stream for the enjoyment of the guy out there in the canoe. So if everybody around the whole lake did these kind of things, that's why we have setbacks, is so that can't happen. And it takes those property rights from everybody around the whole lake or the river or wherever, whatever's affected. So there is a loss to the public of that view shed that is acknowledged in our 50-foot, 75-foot setback regulations. That's the whole idea. So everybody can't build right up to the shoreline and whatever they want to do. And I walked out on the lake and looked down the shoreline, and so you see who's disturbed shorelines, who's protected shorelines. It's to reduce the visual effect from the public's property, the public enjoyment of their property.
Mhm.
So,
So that's the argument, is
so,
Is that,
loss to the public is
so,
when
right,
the
Yeah.
ambiance of a natural shoreline is disturbed.
right next to conservation land.
Right.
And that would be a valid argument had this very specific piece of property be wooded, had trees on it. But there's nothing there. And what these people are gonna do is gonna make it look better than what it looks today. So from my point of view, that's an advantage to the public to make it look more natural, or at least.
In this,
but
Yeah,
that
I know.
doesn't
I live
exist.
across the
That-
lake from these people,
Right,
so I know
that-
exactly where
That
it is.
doesn't exist anymore.
what?
What you're looking at, those trees and stuff don't exist.
Yeah, where'd they go?
I don't know.
We don't know that.
We don't know. Nobody knows.
Storms, they were.
I don't know. Maybe the previous homeowners cut them all down. I don't know. Well, what we know is what this looks like today.
So, but someone violated the intent of
Then
this.
perhaps we should send somebody
No.
to figure that out. But that's kind of I don't want to say irrelevant, but it's not germane to this conversation, because what we are dealing with right now is what that property looks like.
But you're talking about the loss to the general public.
Does that outweigh does the public retaining a 20-foot section of, I don't know, what's the shoreline on Silver Lake?
But, I mean,
No.
you can't,
What's
it's
the
gotta be 3 or 4 miles.
Each way,
It's a 2-mile lake, isn't it?
3.5.
So it's 7 miles of shoreline, thereabouts. Could be give or take more or less depending on how many times it juts in and out, right? So let's call it 7 miles. We're talking 28 feet of 7 miles of shoreline. Now, your point is, if we allow them to do it, we have to allow everybody to do it. That's not true. That's why the setbacks are there. And every single instance is viewed as a singular instance in and of itself and the facts of that specific case. In this instance, there is already an issue with that shoreline, and that shoreline will continue to disappear and change if something isn't done. Are they in the position that because they have to do something, they're going to, and I don't want to say take advantage, because that's a bad way to put it, but they're going to use that opportunity to gain a piece of area where they enjoy the lake from Lake View side. Yes, that's going to happen. That could happen. They could put a big one of these dock things in, and nobody could say anything about it. And they
Well,
would still have that.
The state does. You need a dock permit.
Yeah, but the dock permit is if it's the same kind of thing, the size of it is really not as significant as how it's being put into the water and being taken out of the water, right? So ostensibly, the benefit to the homeowner versus the benefit to the town and the public, I think they're pretty even. The homeowner gets a nice benefit because they have to do this, or they're gonna lose their property, right? And, I mean, again,
They're not gonna lose their property because of that.
I'm not saying the whole property, they're losing a piece of their property. They're gonna lose a piece of their property, right? That stuff is gonna continue to erode, and it's gonna fall into the lake, and they're gonna lose a piece of their property. Obviously not the whole thing, that's not what I'm talking about. But is that benefit, is that cost to them outweighed by a huge benefit to the public by it not being touched and leaving it alone? No, I say no. I say it's even. The public gets a nice benefit with it's saving and not causing additional erosion. And then they get a nice benefit because there's a structure there that they can use and
Okay, so
enjoy.
Let me make one point here. So there are no trees in front of this property right now. It looks pitiful. And I'm not suggesting you do this, what I'm suggesting is, if these people were to plant trees there, then they'd be bringing the shoreline back to what it was. So it would look better to the public were they to do that. Again, I'm not saying you should do that, I'm just saying that would be a benefit to the public at that point, wouldn't it? So they could do their thing, but yet make it more natural, right?
Whether it's trees or shrubbery or bushes
Whatever,
or natural,
whatever.
you know, environment and the things that.
Yeah, but there are
make it-
regulations for that already, and if you remove the trees you're not supposed to.
But they didn't
But-
remove the trees.
I'm not saying,
I'm saying they would put them back, which brings it back to the way it
well,
was.
that's what this regulation would require.
Says they can't put them back?
Well, it says it should, is what you're arguing.
Yes, yes, if they can.
And we can
yes,
make
I
that a
understand
condition.
I understand the rule, because
I
I
think.
had that rule in my house.
Can we make that a
You
condition?
take trees down, you gotta replace them someplace. They didn't take them down. They bought the property as is.
But we don't know that now. I don't think the little old lady that owned it cleared it. But
You don't know that she didn't have somebody come in and take those trees down. You don't know.
I don't.
Right, so.
But you could
To make
search
us
Google.
an assumption, I mean, you could do a Google Earth thing and see, but to make an assumption that it was done recently and they're to be held accountable for it, I think is.
I'm not saying that.
Well, you kinda shook it in his face, Potter. So,
Well,
like,
this,
All right, let's move.
see,
Yeah,
I mean,
let's try and get-
Well, we
move
do
on.
need to,
I mean, this
make
is a fresh cut though. Cause I know when I cut trees in my yard that they come back so fast, you have to be out there you've
I'm
cleared
not
it.
gonna argue that point, and I think it's a moot point at this particular
Okay.
time, because it's not even relevant to the discussion we're having.
Okay,
The discussion we're having is the patio and the retaining wall and the steps,
okay.
okay? I mean, I'm happy to listen to you on fresh cuts and those regulations and that kind of stuff at another time, but I think it's not, again,
Germane.
not germane, I think was the word I used, to this particular variance request.
Oh, well, and what we have to deal with here, let's just talk about realistic options here. If, there's an existing bank that needs to be stabilized, they put retaining walls in, part of which will have shrubbery on it. There's gonna be mitigation of erosion. If we say no and they do nothing, then you're still gonna be staring at that blank wall. Because trees aren't gonna grow on that unstable bank. And even if they do, they're gonna be coming down because the, trees just don't stick around. So, to a certain extent, the question is, does the proposed project reasonably give us something that allows a benefit to the public and to the homeowner? Or does it actually cost the public something to have, I mean, you can leave the bank completely like it is, which is what's likely to happen if they don't get the variances and they don't get the permits. We don't know if they're gonna get the permits anyway. But if we don't give them the variance, then they can't advance anyway. So, while I agree that the property, the way it looks, doesn't have the ambiance of most of the properties that have, 20 or 30 or 40 trees, in a couple hundred feet. That's not the question that we're trying to answer. Question is, does the project provide a reasonable mitigation of erosion? Is it acceptable to us? Are we willing to allow the violation of the dimensional aspect of this to allow patio to be there because it will stabilize the bank in the background? And as we've already heard testimony, you're gonna have a stone wall there, but you're also going to have, terrace, it's gonna have vegetation on it.
3 feet deep terraced.
Well, but the point was that she said they're gonna plant vegetation on it, which will, mitigate the view of the wall behind it and, provide, additional greenery. So, the question is, how do we word this? Remediation of the environmental damage is necessary. you're gonna have to make a decision when we vote, cause we're not voting on these things individually, but either we're gonna say, that, the cost to the public is the, loss of a natural, lake shore, or the remediation actually helps improve the view. Now, we're not looking at the whole property here, we're looking at that bank and that hole, right? That's what you're gonna have to decide, one way or the other, okay? The values of surrounding properties are not diminished. Does anyone have any reason to think that these kinds of improvements would diminish property values?
No, not at all.
No, so generally,
On the lake, can
Yeah.
anything diminish property values?
Yeah, well-
We don't fix the dam and there's 7 more feet of.
generally, yeah, property maintenance, improves property values. Okay, so now the question comes of hardship. Literal enforcement would result in unnecessary hardship because owing to the natural conditions of the property, there's no fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of the provision of this property. And the proposed use is reasonable. So the question is, the relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance, which as Marcus pointed out, is to try to retain the natural look of the lake shore.
Is it though?
Well, he has suggested that.
But
What
Are
it
you-
zoning is?
What's that?
Yeah,
I would contend that the reason for the zoning is environmental protection, not just to keep up the view. I mean, yeah, everybody wants a nice view. You want the lake to look nice, but I believe that the zoning was put in place in order to protect the watershed piece of it and to protect the environment from people, I don't know, building a house in the middle of the lake kind of thing, or out on the stones. I want to build it out on the stones. That's what I think it's for, is that type of protection, not just a view. So,
Okay, so environmental protection and a natural view. If that's the purpose of the ordinance here, is there a relationship, what's the general relationship between the purpose of the ordinance, which is, as you suggest, environmental protection, as well as retaining the ambiance of the natural lake shore? How's this worded? There's no fair and substantial relationship between the general purpose of the ordinance and the specific application of that provision to the property. So, if we apply the ordinance and say we can't do this, on one hand, or they can't do this, then on one hand, we're suggesting that we don't wanna take remedial action on this particular environmental protection.
this
You
has
know.
been 48 years in this condition.
Yeah,
48
again, you
years.
keep saying that, but I disagree with you. It hasn't been in this condition for 48 years. The condition continues to get worse. It's been allowed to continue after, the husband of the owner passed and they didn't finish building the boat house. The owner allowed this condition to continue to get worse. All right, allowed it to continue to keep going. Again, changes in weather that we've had in the last several years that created, washouts of Colby Hill Road, washouts of 113, washouts everywhere else. That erosion, that same erosion is what's happening here. Okay, that
I
piece of it.
cannot see it.
I know you don't see it. But standing on the property, looking at it, I can
do not.
tell
I'm
from,
walked up through it.
did you go up to the back, up those stairs and go stand on the back of it?
Yeah.
Okay, did you see the erosion and where the water comes down from the house and runs right down alongside all of this?
Yep.
And you disagree that that's not getting worse? Okay, I mean, you're allowed to disagree. I disagree that it's not, I believe that it's getting worse.
So,
So, I'm sorry, back to,
Well, we're trying to, you have anything to say, Rich?
Struggling a little bit with this one, but because of everything you said, right? And taking advantage is a bad term, but
Yeah, it's
I'm
not- I
not
like
using
that
that, it's
term.
ugly, it just
Yeah.
sounds bad, but.
it does.
But it is making it possible for them to get what I would call an absolutely beautiful patio out of this. I mean, I'd love to live there and have that.
Me too,
Right? I mean,
right?
who wouldn't?
Yeah, but we're making that sound like it's a bad thing, right? Is that a bad thing? Is that so bad to the public that they're putting in this patio and retaining wall, that there's this significant cost to the view and a significant cost to what, you know, the paddle boarders and the boaters on Silver Lake will see, that cost far outweighs whatever benefit they get? And I say no. I think, again, I go back to the fact that I believe it's pretty equal, that the benefit that the homeowner is gonna get, besides the fact that their property isn't gonna continue to you know, along the bank fall into the water. Yeah, they get a benefit of something that looks pretty. And that looks pretty not just to them, but it looks pretty to people paddling or boating right on Silver Lake. And it's a small piece of the lake. We're not talking about miles of retaining wall that you might have to do, like if you lived in Venice or something, where you got water all the time, you know. We're not talking those kinds of retaining walls. They're not sea walls. I think it's fairly even split between the benefit to the public and the benefit to the homeowner.
You know, one of the issues.
Sorry.
No.
No, that's fine. Part of the issue here is that we have to remember that unnecessary hardship exists owing to the special conditions of the property itself. Right? And so we have to consider what is unique about this property in comparison, say, to every other property. You know, now, and Mark has made a valid comment that, for example, we wouldn't think twice about saying no to someone who wanted to build a patio on the lake if they had to cut down 25 trees that existed and provided, there wouldn't even be a question.
Right.
Correct. No.
Because there is no unique reason on that property to allow a violation of the ordinance. Right. So the question is, on this property, because of the unique nature of the fact that there is this bunged up boathouse that wasn't constructed, but has left a hole in the bank and also, you know, subjected the property, and I agree with Sharon here that erosion is cumulative, and if you allow it to continue on year after year after year, it only gets worse, right?
Never gets better.
It's never gonna get
It's
better.
like rust. It's the same.
And it looks pretty neglected right now.
Yeah, so one could easily argue that the unique nature of this property is that it is existing on that specific location in a damaged condition. And to not do something about it is irresponsible. And if in the process of doing that, one gets a little extra benefit,
So be it.
so, yeah, is that?
Congratulations, you
Well,
did
actually,
something that looks pretty.
It enhances, I mean, frankly, anything
Enhance that.
is gonna look better than
That's
this.
exactly.
So I don't know, so, you know, part of the condition is the proposed use reasonable? You know, I mean, a
It's a patio.
a patio is a reasonable use. I don't think that the use itself, I mean, they're not asking to put a garbage dump there because they don't wanna go down the transfer station.
Right, no, and they're not putting in a boathouse, or they're not putting in, you know, any number of other things.
And is it only reasonable for this site, or is it reasonable for every lot on Silver Lake?
Doesn't matter, we're talking about this thing.
It's the unique conditions of this property that
Okay.
that ask us to evaluate this project in light of the unique conditions of this property. That's why I said, we wouldn't think twice about giving a no to someone who wanted to cut down 30 trees on the shoreline in order to put a patio 5 feet from the,
5 feet from the water.
5 feet from the water.
And there was no other existing conditions or, you know, stipulations regarding that property. Again, we go back to each piece of property, each application is evaluated on its merits, not necessarily completely in relation to other properties in the area. We do, in one aspect of it, does it fit within the rest of the neighborhood? We get that a lot when we're talking about properties in Edelweiss, especially, but, you know, point taken in this instance, does what they're proposing fit in the neighborhood, or does it detract from the neighborhood?
I walked out on the lake and I would argue that it detracts from the neighborhood. Did you walk out on the lake?
I'm not going out on that.
You're
sorry.
saying the present condition detracts, or what they're proposing would?
What they're proposing.
We'll have to agree to disagree.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we can, so.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, what the formal application says, we're not bound to accept the wording here, but this is non-conforming lot, this is number 5, the question of hardship. Non-conforming lot of record predates the town zoning ordinance. The Madison zoning ordinance was put in place to ensure that future lots would have larger minimum lot size, and the larger lot requirement would be, am I reading the right one?
Yeah.
Yes. It would be held to greater frontage and sideline offsets than was common practice in this neighborhood prior to enacting the zoning. Knowing this and knowing that we addressed the non-conforming lot of record, I suggest that this instance that the general public purpose of the ordinance does not apply. It doesn't really address some of the questions that we're looking at, and that is, does this, given the unique nature of this thing, so we're talking about the setback requirements for the stairs on the side, as well as in particular, the distance from the lake on that thing. Does a hardship exist if we don't? Grant, I think one can make a fairly good argument that a hardship would exist for the use of the property access to the lake if the stairs were not approved.
If there are no stairs, there would be more dangerous to walk down there than
Yep.
if the stairs were there. It's a safety issue.
Yes.
Right, and access to the lake is something that's generally assumed to be the right of the property owner, so there's not really so much question. Would you agree with that much? In terms of the stairs,
Yeah.
it's not really an issue, so the question is whether or not the unique conditions of this property justify using that spot where the boathouse excavation was begun to put in a patio.
Right.
And not doing so, does that create hardship for the owner? Any comments on that?
Well, as I said, I think the hardship for the owner would be, without the stairs, it's a safety issue.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the hardship, from my point of view, that's a hardship to the owners, by not doing it.
The additional stairs. There's one set of stairs there currently.
2 sets, actually.
Well,
Yeah,
right,
but
but one
it's-
down near the water.
Yeah.
which,
But it's like 5 steps, it's not,
Right.
there's a whole one
Right.
path to get down there.
It's precarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have any problem with the stairs, so
I don't.
do we have any kind of written justification for saying that the placement of the patio, I mean, the retaining wall, I would say is absolute necessity.
Yep.
And that leaves you a spot, so.
What do you do? Yeah, so the retaining wall is a necessity. What do you do with the area in the middle of the retaining wall?
Right.
You can fill it with gravel, right?
The
But
25 yards is still right there. It's what they would contend.
I don't, what do you mean by that? I'm not sure I understood what you meant. The
That they
25 feet.
excavated 25 yards and just turned
25
around
feet.
and put it up there. That's what it said. That's what I read. They didn't haul it off.
oh, you
Right,
got,
but it's probably by this time all been washed away because it was loose soil at the time when they put it up there, so it's all gone anyway.
you look at the picture. There's
Right.
there isn't a mound there.
There's not a mound,
It's flat.
yeah. Cause there's a walkway, a flat walkway that goes from the one side,
So they
on
may
one
have-
side of the hole, all the way through to the other property.
Yeah, the topo plan is pretty consistent. I
Yeah.
don't see where they.
They may have put a
anything.
pile there 50 years ago, but it's not there anymore.
Right.
Well, realistically speaking, there's basically three pieces to this operation. One is the stairs and the side thing. I'm sensing,
We're all
well,
agreeing with it.
yeah, there's not much contention on
Stairs now.
the stairs,
No.
right? The next piece is, of course, the retaining walls themselves are absolutely necessary.
Right.
Right? And the third, and the retaining walls would be closer than 75 feet.
Absolutely.
Yes.
They have to be, in order to perform the function that you need them to perform.
Right. So then the question is it a reasonable use of the space that's then created to put
A sitting area patio.
a sitting area patio right there on the beach? And then that raises the next question as well, could you just put sand there and have it a beach?
Right.
Once again, we're not required to redesign the project,
Mhm.
but we
Right.
can say that you can't put,
They could, but I think you would end up with sort of the same issue in that when storms come, that sand will get washed away. It would,
So the
so
solution.
they'd be
so-
constantly replenishing that
So
sand.
the solution to stabilizing the bank without building this thing here is to fill that gap with crushed stone. That won't get washed away, it'll hold the bank there, but yet there won't be the patio or the stone wall or whatever you want there.
But again, it's not our job to
But no,
redesign
you're
the
right,
project.
you're right,
So given that the project is, we would like to put
it is what it
the
is.
patio in
Yeah.
there, is that like Drew said, is that a reasonable use of that space? And I would say, yes, it's a reasonable use of the space, and I also sort of disagree with Mark that it would be, and I don't wanna say, I'm not putting words in your mouth that you said eyesore, but
No,
you don't.
you can say that.
Okay. I think you won't even see it.
What?
I don't think you're gonna even see the patio because it's at, at a low level. And if you're out on the water, you're not gonna see that patio. You're gonna see the retaining walls, but you're
Yeah.
not gonna see the patio. You're not even gonna notice it. So I do believe that it's a reasonable use of that space. I do believe that a patio is a reasonable, and don't get me wrong, when I went to the property and they said there was gonna be a patio, I'm like, what? You're gonna do what? But thinking about it and looking at it and seeing it, I do believe it's a reasonable use of that space. And I believe that as the homeowners that obviously have a right to a reasonable use, they need a variance in order to do it in that location. Well, that's the only location because that's where the retaining wall has to go. That's where the erosion is. They could put another patio anywhere else on the property they want and it wouldn't be an issue whatsoever. The issue is, what are you gonna do with that space now that you've created that retaining wall section and you have this open piece to it? It is reasonable to use it then as a gathering space patio.
well, and from an aesthetic perspective, would a pile of